I'm Stacy Gordon. Welcome to That's My Jam. Now today's recipe is not a one-pot meal, but it is something that is served in a pot. So once you get this mixed up, you can leave it on the stove and everybody can just enjoy it whenever they're ready. Make sure to stick around because on Thursdays we always do a music trivia question at the end of the video. I'm really anxious to try this recipe, so let's get started. Today we're going to make a butternut squash soup. No surprise, we'll be starting out the recipe today with some butternut squash. Now you can absolutely use a fresh butternut squash, but today I'm going to do a little bit of a shortcut, make this quicker and easier, and I'm going to use some frozen butternut squash. Next, I'm going to preheat my oven to 375 degrees. I'm going to be using one of my super non-stick cookie sheets. It's completely optional, but if you want to, you can line your cookie sheet with some parchment paper. I'm placing all 10 ounces of my frozen butternut squash right on my cookie sheet. You want to make sure that everything is kind of separated and nothing is overlapping. Next, we're going to use about half of a Honeycrisp apple. These apples are pretty sweet, so I don't really think we need to use the whole thing. I left the skin on this apple and cut it into pieces about like this. Those apple pieces will go right on our cookie sheet next to our squash. I'm using 3 small shallots. I've peeled them and I've cut them down the middle, and we're going to add those to our cookie sheet. Next, I'm going to drizzle everything on my cookie sheet with a light coating of olive oil. I want to make sure everything on the cookie sheet is well coated, so I'm just going to toss this around a little bit. I managed to get everything well coated with the olive oil, but in doing so, I kind of mixed everything up, and that's okay. Now I'm going to add a little bit of salt and pepper to everything on the cookie sheet. This is ready to go in our oven for about 40 or 45 minutes. If you're enjoying today's video, I'd appreciate if you tap that like button, and if you haven't already, please consider subscribing to my channel. 40 minutes later, we're ready to pull this from the oven. Our ingredients are roasted now and they smell incredible. We're going to transfer them to this food processor. Next, I'm going to add 2 cups vegetable broth. About a 1/4 cup half and half, or you can use coconut milk. And about 1/8 of a teaspoon cinnamon. Now I'm going to puree this mixture. It took a little longer to puree than I expected, but it looks fantastic. Now's the time to place this in our pot. You can turn this on a medium-low heat until you get the soup to your desired temperature. I've just made a small batch of this today. As we've discussed previously, you don't have to make a giant pot of something to be able to enjoy it. You can sprinkle yours with a little bit of basil if you're fancy like that. And we're ready to give this a try. Wow. That's not what I was expecting. I was almost expecting that to taste very sweet, but the shallots and the basil made this a really nice savory soup, and it has a wonderful texture. Guys, I really like this. I love trying new recipes, but it's a little nerve-wracking when you're doing it on a video. In this case, everything came out great. I'm definitely going to be making this one again, and I think you'll love it. I'll see you next week. In the meantime, keep jamming.